Hi folks, welcome to Guitar Spice Rack. Today I want to talk about a concept that I call a lick starter, which is basically a micro lick within a lick that will launch an eventual longer lick off of. It's a little bit confusing to talk about, but let's look at it. For this lesson, we're in the key of C. Here on the 8th fret is where we're looking at that C minor pentatonic shape. Most of you are familiar with that. Just 8, 11, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 11, 8, 11. The area for this lick that we're going to be looking is the E string, the high E string. But we're actually not going to be looking at the 8 and the 11, which is the 1, that's a C, that's the 1, and the minor 3 there. We're going to be looking at, in this minor pentatonic, you have this note. We're going to actually be looking at the two notes in between. Two brand new notes that maybe you can add to your minor pentatonic scale. When we're soloing over this, the track I was soloing over, which I'll put a link to in the bottom, the jam track there, is just a C7 vamp. Something like that. A C7 vamp, this will also work over a C minor 7. You know, if you kind of just got the, like a 1 to 4 or something like that. Any kind of thing where it's situation, a blues in C or C minor, where you're going to use that C minor pentatonic here. This particular lick starter is something that I've kind of got from Tedeschi Trucks. Something he does a lot when he's not playing slide, when he's just playing regular guitar. So like I said, it's going to be, the lick starter is actually going to take place on the E string, up here. So we got, the 8th fret is the root, that's the C. What we're going to look at is, you normally in the minor pentatonic you have the root and the minor 3rd here on this string in that minor pentatonic box. What we're going to be looking at is the two notes in between, which is the 2nd or the 9. I call it the 9. We're going to call it the 9 in this video. And the flat 9, which would be there on the 9th fret. So rather than have, we've now added two notes, so you have the full little chromatic walk. You have all 4 of these notes within that box of the minor pentatonic. So I played the lick starter a couple times and a couple variations in that opening playing, but let's just review it again here. What we're looking at is simply this. That's it. That's our lick starter. And so what we're doing in the key of C is, like I said, we got the root here at the 8. We're actually going to start at the 9th fret, which is the flat 9. It's a C sharp. We're in the key of C. We're going to start on a C sharp. Usually a note that you would try to avoid in a scale like this. You know, if you're playing in C and you hit a C sharp, it doesn't sound good. But it will in this instance because we're using it as a passing note or a launching point to a note that is in, which is that 9. Which is a cool little jazzy note. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on that C sharp, and which is the 9th fret, and we're going to go from the 9th fret to the 10, which is a D, and then the 9th fret to the 8. That's it. You just go 1 up and 1 down. And if you listen to Tedeschi Trucks when he's not playing slide guitar, he does this all the time. You can listen to a song and count how many times he probably does this. And it's a lick starter, so then you can jump into anything. You can go, you know, usually walk down to that flat 7 there, which is the 11th fret of the B string. Whatever lick you're going to put after it. Or a lot of times I'll slide up to, you know, the kind of the Albert King area, the kind of box 2 shape. But that little move there, right there, that flat 9 to the 9, flat 9 to the root. In that, you can play all your blues licks or whatever you got. Gives it a little jazzy feel there when you just do that flat 9 to the 9, and then flat 9 to the 1. That's all it is. It's almost a little Twilight Zone kind of lick. And that's all. It's a great jumping off point to whatever lick you want to do after it. Now, we have that launching point. Like, the cool thing about these is you can just do slight variations on them and get something else. One thing I like to do a lot of times is kind of do a chromatic all in one thing, and maybe start on the root. So rather than hammering on from the 9th fret to the 10th fret, hammer on from the 8th to the 10th, and then pull off a chromatic like. And I you know, usually go to that flat 7th again. It works great. I kind of did that at the beginning when I was just kind of playing around a little bit in the middle of a lick, you know, where you're kind of. So, you know, you just play whatever you're playing, you know, in that minor pentatonic shape before. And you can just hit that root, 9. It just sounds a lot better than always. You know, those pentatonic notes, they're great, but when you want to vary it up, you have these 2 notes right there in between. So all 4 of these notes will work. Like I said, that C sharp is not technically a good note to hit, but if you just do it fast, it sounds good in there. It's just a passing note. You don't want to stay on it. You want to move one way or the other. So I showed you the fast chromatic, the hammer on from the root to the 9 and chromatic down. You know, another variation I like to do is just to move it up in more of a Dorian sound and more notes that are actually in the scale, where I might do hammer on rather than from the flat 9 to the 9 or the 9th fret to the 10th fret and the 9th fret to the root. I'll just do it, take these 2 notes and move them 1 fret up, but keep this one here, and you have, and that works as well. It works because all those notes are in the scale, at least in the scale that we're soloing in, which is the minor scale here. The Dorian mode is what I usually use, but either way, these notes are in there. You got the root, the 2, and the minor 3. Those are 3 notes that are in the minor scale. So that works too, and sometimes, and again, the same variation where I hammered on from the root to the 9 and do that chromatic. You can do that same one, moving these 2 frets up. These 2 frets 1 fret up. So those are kind of a lick starter that like I said, I got from Tedeschi Trucks playing, and came up with some variations on it. Sometimes I just start up here and just do the chromatic. So I will, let's see if I can get this jam track going again, and now that I've explained it, kind of show you different ways that I use these licks here. Those are just a couple ways there that you can use this idea of develop your own. Like I said, it's a lick starter. It's just 4 notes. It's not really hardly a lick. It's a micro lick. It's something that I play, you know, in those various forms, sometimes in the middle of a lick like I did with that. You know, this is kind of the lick starter, which is another Tedeschi Trucks type thing, I guess. But that is in there too. So you can put it in the middle. I usually like to start with something like that. So there you have that. Just add the flat 9 and the 9 to your minor pentatonic scale, and it will open up a whole new world for you as far as things that you can do with those chromatic runs or the slides. You know, you could do something like that, which is the same thing, the same beginning instead of, is just kind of a nice sound. Sometimes I'll slide in a little arpeggio there, but the idea is utilize that 9 and that flat 9. Stevie Ray Vaughan did it, like I said, Tedeschi Trucks did it. you'll hear John Mayer do it. You hear all the blues guys do it. Those are good notes that a lot of guitar players overlook because they're stuck in that. Just those minor pentatonic. The minor pentatonic is great, but it's 5 notes and is, you can find that you can solo around in that minor pentatonic with those 5 notes, but just throw in some more of those little notes, and it really jazzes up and makes your solos more interesting to the listener. It gives them a few more things. So I hope you got something out of this lesson. If you did, feel free to subscribe, like the lesson, and I'll try and post one for you again soon. Thanks, guys.